It really is.
servers in line.
It really is.
Hello and welcome to Chillin'. Oh, so hold on. Let me use my radio voice. Hello and welcome to Chilling Hellenists. This is your host here, Victoria, aka Hellenic Herald. I'm joined by, of course, our favorite Hellenist witch, B. Welcome, Bree. Welcome, B, and I almost said your full name. Welcome, B, and thanks for joining us again. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I love that you're also lowering the mic.
We got to keep the vibes going.
Do you want to do the whole show in like a chill radio voice? Because I can do
Oh,
it.
God, no. I could not. I am in too upbeat of a mood.
Go ahead, because I'm tired. As I mentioned before. This is how you know I have literally no secrets, because I will literally tell someone something off camera and then repeat it on camera that is not relevant at all. Like that we didn't plan today until like an hour ago.
That's true.
We were like, oh shit, we should probably like know what we're going to talk about.
I should. I had a weird... Okay, so musicians like to do this thing where they come together and make music, right?
Yes.
So it's a group of composers.
That's generally what the job entails.
Well, yeah. But that's composers. In our normal like weekly class, it's someone coming in and presenting about their music. This week was us making music together. And it was great because everyone formed like... We were in like a big circle, right? So we could all see each other. And it was funny because the room naturally divided themselves into like the band kids, the like weird kids who don't really fit into anything. It was like me with like my folk instruments, meaning like my shruti box, my ankle bells, and my tambourine and my frame drum, because I'm the weird chick in the department, which is like hard to do for musicians. A kid with guitar, a jazz trumpet player, and some singers, and someone with a harmonica. Oh, and there was a lute too.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, so we were like the eclectic bunch, and then there was like some random dude walking around with a saxophone, and there were like a few string players. And
I have to say, I don't play well, but okay, you guys are going to see the rest of the room, which is actually where I chucked everything that is not on this side of the room.
Love that.
I don't know if you can see all the way over there. I have like a violin.
Mm-hmm. So, love that.
Working on it. I'll be joining you soon. Yay.
But like we were doing a bunch of like sonic meditations, which is basically like tuning in and listening to each other. But like it was a vibe. And then the last exercise we did, everyone had to like write a prompt on an index card. Then we like shook them up in a hat and everyone drew one randomly, and you had to interpret that with your voice or your instrument. And the dude next to me, I loved the guy next to me, but he got a line that was like, it was basically line directions. So what he did was cough the entire time. Like he just started off with a big cough, and I just cracked up. And my day's been like that all day.
He was doing it coughing?
Yes, he was coughing. Like the obnoxious loud coughs. And like I cried laughing. Like tears. I could not do mine for a good 10 minutes because I was crying laughing. It was hilarious. But and then I had some really good food for dinner, which actually included like healthy fruits and veggies. So I'm in a very good mood. I know. I had a pineapple salsa, which...
Ooh, that sounds yummy.
Yeah, with some chicken thighs and some coconut rice.
Oh my god, that does sound amazing. Jesus.
It's so good. I will send you the recipe because
please.
It's so good. It's so good.
I definitely want to try the coconut rice. I can't do spicy, but
it's not spicy at all.
Are you sure? Like because are you seeing chicken. How I radiate like the beacon of Gondor here? Like I don't know if you've noticed.
It's barbecue.
I know
lime
my last
chicken.
name sounds. Oh my god, nobody here knows my last name.
Oh.
Oh my god.
No one knows mine either. It's okay.
I'm Armenian. So, but I don't have an Armenian last name. But so I'm
my last name's
actually
Armenian.
Real what?
My last name is Armenian, but it's like a way far back on my dad's side. So that's kind of funny. That's super funny.
Yeah, so I'm like, even though I'm like Middle Eastern, I can't handle spice like at all. I go to Mexican
Funny.
places and I'm like, is this spicy? And they're like, no, it's very mild. I'm like, look at me, look at me. I am a basic white bitch. Like
I
now
love
answer the
that.
question again. And they're like, it might be a little spicy. And I was like, I fucking told you.
That's funny.
This is a great way to start a Hellenist stream. Nothing Hellenic at all.
No. We're giving people time to filter in.
That's true. We are.
That's exactly what we're doing.
Time. That's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah, totally.
It
We know what we're doing.
we know what we're doing. Totally. It was planned. It's just planned. There's no. In fact, my boyfriend works in commercials, and the few times that he's helped me with video stuff, he's like, okay, where's your script? And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? And he's like, where's your script? I'm like, I don't have a script. I'm just gonna talk. He's like, don't you know what you're gonna say? I'm like, no, bullet points ish. I'm just gonna wing it. And he's like, what?
Me for big presentations.
Well, and that's where I started doing. I actually had a different channel a while ago that I started doing back when, like, in 2020. I was doing live streaming on a different channel, and I just kind of got into how it works and stuff. And the same process with whenever I do videos of any kind, whether it's pre-recorded or not, there really isn't a plan.
Yeah.
Or an outline. And I'm just like, to me, perfect is the enemy of good, which is really funny coming from a recovering perfectionist. And but it is true, because you get hyped up on all the details and stuff, and then it's not right. And it like, and you know, and I've seen him where we've done casual videos and stuff, and it will frustrate him, infuriate him to death, because he is used to a much higher standard.
Yeah.
And I'm like, look, so long as it gets done and it's not a shit show, I call it a success, you know? I'm gonna shut this light off because I think that's too well. So much contrast now. So much contrast. All right, I'm going to. Whoa, that was too much contrast for me. I might have to turn my light on. It might become bright in here just because of the contrast is hurting my face. But anyway, so let's see here while we're filtering in and stalling for time. Do we want to continue? Would you like to continue with the life impact questions? I feel like maybe we should finish those just for sake of
Yeah, I say let's
knowing where
finish
the
them.
fuck we are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because this might take us this week and next week.
It might. Before we get into that, just in case anyone, I lost the post now. There it is. Okay. I don't know if you guys can hear it now. The local food/drug truck is coming around. We're convinced that we can't believe that this truck, it's like 6:20 at night here. Like, there's no way this thing's an ice cream truck. It does sell actual food, but there's no way this guy's making enough money. This food, we are like, we got to find out the right phrase or whatever to get the in with this guy, but I don't know. And if he is making his bread with, selling snack foods, I mean, good on him.
Yeah.
But so I apologize if you guys end up hearing it. My windows are closed and I do have the curtain closed, so it should dampen that sound somewhat. What the fuck was I gonna say? I forgot. Oh yes, I was gonna remind everyone. In fact, let me see if I can bring it up. The image that has our schedule for this week is the Lesser Mysteries, which was really cool because my grandma actually asked me about it, so I had to explain it to her.
That's kind of cute, though.
It's super cute. She's really nice, and she's always like she's been a pretty good sport about the religious differences, I have to say. So let me bring up this. Here we go. So our Lesser Mysteries schedule. I'm going to share a window. That's that one. So we are on 223. So today we're on the Discord server. We're doing. Wait, is it showing? No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Sorry. There we go.
There you go.
We are doing an altar selfie hype train. So if you have an altar and you'd like to share it, or it doesn't have to include yourself, if you'd like it to, it can. But I know some people aren't always comfortable with selfies. So like if you just want to take a picture of something that is devotional or whatever and share it. And then later tonight, I'll be working on the. Maybe you can say this, B. Can you say this word? This thing?
Diasia, I think.
Diasia. Okay.
I think that's what it is.
The Zeus ritual for Diasia. Did I say that right?
I think it's Diasia. Yeah.
Okay, Diasia. And we have another activity that's Discord server only, and then we are going to be doing. I really knocked myself into a corner at this one, you guys. We're doing a Minecraft ritual, and we're going to be doing the hybrid Aphrodite ritual with Thasos Phobos on Saturday. Both of them on Saturday. So. And then on the 27th at 7 p.m. on the server, we're just going to do a community watch and hang. So here are some the ways that we are celebrating the lesser mysteries in Hellenic Herald in our Discord server. And if you're on our server and want to participate, woohoo, awesome. And you can join the server.
It's been really fun so far, I will say.
It has. Did you see we have a scavenger hunt that's going all week.
Jackpot last night, I think, was super fun. We did the t-shirt game, and some of the t-shirts were just absolutely beautiful. Like, so
That's
good.
awesome. I was on the first one. I joined the one on the 21st.
Yeah.
So I wasn't on the one yesterday because I forgot. Gonna be honest.
There was some fun to be had.
And we have the scavenger hunt. Someone went balls in with the scavenger hunt. They
it was fantastic. They made a whole Google Drive of it.
Yeah. They rampaged it, and I was like, this was supposed to last all week, guys. Like we had to add more prizes for people to win. Oh no.
Oh no. So sad.
So yeah, that's ways that we're celebrating, and I think that goes really well into those lifestyle questions.
Mm-hmm.
Which the first one is what? Oh, I don't know if we want to answer this one.
Oh, maybe not first.
Maybe not that one. Yeah. Not first. Yeah, that one.
Let's see.
Are you taken seriously, or I don't know what I'm going to answer that one either.
How about we start with?
I'll let you pick one.
How did you learn and/or get exposed to Hellenic polytheism?
I feel like we talked about this last time.
I think we did that.
I think we did it by accident, though.
I think we kind of touched on it. Let's see. Yeah. We have. What are your thoughts on Hellenism in media or paganism as a whole?
Let's just kind of quickly recap that one though for a second. So let me ask you, because you're actually in higher education, like you are getting your master's.
I am.
So did you learn how did you learn about Hellenic polytheism? Was it academic for you, or did you find out through a friend, or
mine? I want to say it was through Tumblr and YouTube, which seems really weird, but hear me out.
It does not. I've seen Tumblr.
Yeah. I was growing up, I knew I wasn't Christian, but I didn't know what I was. I was kind of on the spiritual side of things, but not really religious. And I was watching the show Rain on CW, which is super cheesy, but high school / freshman year me loved it because it's CW. How could I not at that age? And
dude, CW, can we just
they have some good shows.
They had some amazing shows. I'm genuinely sad. That is the one channel that I genuinely miss from not having cable. That and TNT?
Yeah, TNT had some good ones. Anyway, I was watching Rain, and there was a show that there's a bunch of druids involved, and some little bell in my brain was research druids, actual druids. So I looked it up, and I found modern druidry. And then that led me down like other pagan traditions, and I was learning. I was like, oh, people worship the Greek gods now, and that's how I found it. I didn't start worshiping until a few years later because I was like bouncing around, like basically dipping my toe in a bunch of different things.
Yeah, trying
And
it, see how it tastes.
yeah, so for a while I was like, I'm a pantheist. That's it. I don't know what else I am, but that's that. And then eventually it was just like the more I read about Hellenism, it just made sense to me. And at its core, it's kind of pantheistic, so kind of works.
Yeah. Oddly enough, it's weird because I do hear similar stories over it's kind of I wish there was like a way to study this academically because I do hear the same kind of story a lot where people say that, oh, I just didn't jive, one of the main religion just didn't jive with me. It didn't feel right. So then I've met a lot of people who found Hellenism through Druidism or
Mm-hmm.
through Druids. And I mean, good job, ADF. You guys, and you know what? And I haven't heard anything shitty about the ADF either. Like, I'm
Which
gonna say
is
that.
like pretty impressive.
That's pretty freaking impressive considering the amount of like dirty laundry that gets pulled out
Mm-hmm.
in the pagan community. And
Yeah.
we all know, like, literally, I don't remember what it was we were talking about earlier, you and me, but someone messaged you. That's right. Someone
Oh
messaged you.
yeah.
And it
And it was really
someone.
weird.
Yeah, it was really weird. And so it was actually someone who I booted from the server, from our Hellenic Herald server, because they were also sending like weird messages, and I got some weird private DMs, and then someone else from another server came and told us in the one of our community liaisons was like, hey, we got some weird person messaging us, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
we don't think it's a bot, but it's super weird. And they weren't replying in like normal ways. And I was like, oh yeah, like we were told about this a while ago. We booted them from the server. Like, and then they got to, and it's like word travels fast in the pagan community.
So
Fast, maybe too fast.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
And I mean that just comes with today's day and age. But good job, ADF. And I also I knew many years before I even sniffed paganism that I was like, my family was Christian. I was like, I'm not jiving with this. And it's interesting because now I look back on things I did as a kid, one of which was talking to the wind, which was completely bonkers at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't think it was bonkers, but other people told me it was bonkers.
Yeah, I did the same thing. Or I collected a lot of rocks.
Oh, I
so many rocks
too. Oh my god! I have
from recess.
There's this bag right here. This bag is a rock full of giant quartz rocks that I pulled out of a river stream. Would you like? I mean, it's rocks. I don't really want to ship it, but
yeah, that's
like,
fair.
I want to get a rock tumbler because I have this big bag of rocks that I literally pulled out of a like river, not river, a pond or something that was like, it's not dried up, but it was lower water level.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and but yeah, I collected rocks too. We're all a bunch of pebble collecting weirdos is what
we're the hoarders. We are dragons. we are literally dragons.
I'm on my 3rd divination deck now.
One of us.
It's a supernatural deck. My friend got it for me, and I was like,
it's a great deck.
I'm excited about it. It's literally sitting on my like working altar for the office. Mm-hmm. I'm just like, hey guys, can you like zap this a little bit for me? So yeah, and then I joined. I had a friend of mine who took me to some druid events, and I was like, closer, but no cigar. And then my husband told me to maybe like do research because I seem to be really passionate about like the Greek gods and like mythology and stuff. And then I found Hellenism, and I was like, oh, this is a thing that exists still. Did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
So it is there's a lot of similarities. So yeah.
And a lot of people come from Wicca too, but like,
yeah,
2 sides of the same coin there, really.
I
So,
mean, yeah, and also Wicca and Satanists. Good job, guys. Like
yeah,
solid work. I've heard some shit about some people within the Wiccan community, but like not and certainly not as much as the celebrities. You know?
yeah,
Not nearly as much as the people in Hollywood. Let's say that.
that's true.
So isn't that sad though? It's so
And it kind of
sad.
is.
Okay, so let's see here. Then you had the other. Can you read the question out again, B?
Mm,
Putting you on the spot as you're drinking.
I just want my hot chocolate before it gets cold. Um, how did you learn?
Also,
No,
hot
we just did
chocolate
that.
sounds awesome. So what? Well, that's what I
What
wanted
are
to
your
do. A
thoughts
little
on
bit of that one.
Hellenism? That one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's actually a really good question because that has a lot. People are on like have really differing opinions. So what's our thoughts on Hellenism in media? Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Let's just copy it and I'll put it in the chat.
You might want to reword it a little bit because it is not quite grammatically correct.
Okay. I'll reword it on here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on Hellenism in media or paganism as a whole in terms of representation? Has this affected your faith and or perception?
That is. I'm just gonna leave it because I'm lazy.
Fine.
I'm super lazy. But I like it. That's a lot actually. What are your thoughts on Hellenism in media or paganism? So, what are your thoughts on Hellenism or paganism in media as a whole in terms of representation, and has it affected your faith or perception of?
Yeah.
Perception of what?
I'm not quite sure.
I don't know.
I think this is a twofold question because, like,
yeah,
there's the representation of the practice and the representation of the gods.
Oh, that's yes.
And those are two very different things.
They are. Yeah,
so
and
they're separate, but they're connected in a way.
Yes. Okay, I'll do this. I'm gonna redraw it as that. So let's see. That's and you could also go ahead and start talking while I rephrase this question.
My best friend has been in pain all day and is finally going to the hospital after I have convinced him no, he needs to go. So he's going at 3 a.m. his time, which is bonkers. So I'm making sure he gets to the hospital, okay? Anyway, so there's a lot of representation for the Greek gods in media because they have just been so prevalent in our culture's minds. So
yes,
like there was the Zeus and Hera, I think it was a car commercial recently for the Super Bowl.
Oh my god, I love that, and I want Arnold Schwarzenegger to. I want them to make a show with Arnold Schwarzenegger as Zeus and No, that's not Eva Longoria. What's her name?
I honestly am terrible with names, so
she was just in the Eternals. She was just in Eternals.
It wasn't Angelina Jolie.
Hold on.
What's the other?
I'll find her. Selma Hayek. Yeah, and Selma Hayek as Hera. I think Selma Hayek would be a great Hera. I think she's got that like I'm in charge, but I'm not like but she's like sassy kind of vibe to her.
I think it works.
And I feel like that's perfect Hera.
I think Percy Jackson is a really big one for a lot of people.
Percy Jackson is a really big one. And there's some hate for it in the community.
There is some hate for it. That could be a whole stream, probably.
So what do you think about the like you said, the representation media? Like you said, there was the commercial that came out.
I like that one. Like, it wasn't even really connected to myth or anything, as far as I remember. It's been a while since I watched it, but like
It wasn't. I watched it yesterday. It
Yeah.
wasn't really connected to me. It was like Hera and Zeus are like retiring, and they're like, "But where will you go? What will you do?"
Yeah.
And like they set up this whole fake life for them just to sell you a car.
Yeah. So
which
like
I thought was funny.
it's hilarious.
It's a lot of effort.
It was a lot of effort just to do
Just
a
for
car
a car.
commercial. Which like that was funny to me because like they're just using them as like archetypes. Really, they're not.
Yeah.
You know, Percy Jackson.
I think
Great
they were
fiction
focusing on
books.
the electric aspect of it.
Yeah.
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 Percy Jackson, great what?
They are great fiction books, especially for the age group they're meant for, which is young adults. I mean, I'm planning to reread it before the Disney Plus series comes out. Oh, you didn't know about that?
No.
Okay.
I've actually never read the Percy Jackson books. I've only seen the movies. And can I say Nathan Fillion as Hermes?
So the movies suck.
Oh,
I'm just gonna say that. I'm sorry.
They're not great. I will say they're not great. They
especially compared to the books.
Yeah, you can. I never compare movies to books.
Yeah.
It's such a different game.
Yeah.
You know.
The books are fantastic. They're not hard reads, even if you aren't like a big hardcore reader. It's not like picking up Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit. Like they're kids' books, so they're at an accessible level.
Yeah.
And it's just a really fun concept of like, what if demigods were still around, which is a super fun concept, especially for kids. And actually, the author Rick Riordan is working with Disney Plus to create a series of it because then they can get more in depth with everything. The script, I believe, has been approved, and they're going into some other production things before, like the casting and all of that fun stuff. But that's a thing to look forward to. So as we get updates, I can put them in the server and be like, the Percy Jackson series.
We should totally do a watch party. I don't know how to do one because I've tried to do it. Disney Plus doesn't like it.
Yeah.
But so like, do you in general, do you like or dislike the representations of the gods in media?
I'm mixed. I'm very mixed.
I think most people are.
On one hand, it's like they're fictional, like they're acting as fictional characters in a fictional story.
It's more of an inspired by than
exactly.
Yeah.
Like people always like to pick on Disney's Hercules, which is actually one of my favorite movies. But they're
love
like,
that movie.
I love the movie. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
But people are like, it's not accurate to the mythology. I'm like, no, of course not. If you knew the actual Hercules myth, that is not appropriate for children.
It's not. I think that, you know what, and that's another nail on the or nail on the head, like, whatever it's called. It's not, and I think that we have to consider these things in the context that they're in. That this is for children, that this is not a historically, like, no one is claiming any of that shit's historically accurate.
No,
it is like, very much inspired by.
People get really pissed that like about the relationship between Hera and Zeus being portrayed as a loving one in Disney's Hercules. I'm like, who cares? It's a Disney movie.
Yeah. I'm also like, so on also that respect, because I don't think they hate each other. I think there are, hey, this shit ain't Minecraft. Does it say Minecraft? Not. Oh no.
Oh no, hold does on. It?
It shouldn't be. But Twitch likes to not label this right. Let me just check video producer. There's hold on. What? Oh, it is. It didn't change it to just chatting. Hold on.
Oh no.
Thank you.
Thanks for the heads up.
Yeah, we're using obviously a different thing. You can see the branding in the corners. Thank you, Low Fat Streams. But you're welcome to stay.
You. Yes, you are welcome to stay.
I mean, we just can't. I think it's presumptuous for us to assume that they're always at each other's throats.
Yeah.
because talking about paganism. I mean,
sorry.
Look, Minecraft came out with a whole Greek thing, so
That is true. That's later in the week,
which is
though.
exactly what we're talking about. That's another representation of, paganism and Hellenism in media. And I actually kind of love it. It looks beautiful, and the soundtrack's amazing.
It really does. I cannot wait till I get my new computer so I can actually play Minecraft, because I only have it on my PlayStation right now, and I can't connect to anything.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you see we have the way to connect to it?
Yeah, but I don't want to mess with my PlayStation that much.
Yeah, I feel you.
I have like 2-3ish more weeks until my computer is shipped, so I can't wait.
But yeah, I think it's very presumptuous to assume that like they're always at each other's throats, or they're always. I mean, they've been around for how many thousands of years? So I don't have so much of a problem, because that's the thing that I hear a lot when it comes to Disney's Hercules, is that they're such a loving couple, and it's just like, and
Married couples have ups and downs. They have been together for how long?
I know, and I mean, also I get also the Hera, and Hercules. But that doesn't mean that she didn't at one point try to be a good mom. Maybe, I don't know. Also, it's like you said, it's Disney. It's the sparkly version. We're just gonna wipe off the not fun parts and leave all the
Disney
pretty
movies
shit.
are like that.
They are.
I mean, Pinocchio and Dumbo are scary as shit. I don't care how old you are; they are scary as shit, and they will make you cry. But most, especially,
man.
Anyway, like Cinderella.
I can't watch
Tangled.
that scene with the mom. I can't.
Oh my God,
can't.
No. I cannot. But like Cinderella, Little Mermaid, hell, even Frozen is a watered down version of the original fairy tale to make it.
How about Hunchback of Notre Dame? Like that shit, they were literally going to burn someone at the stake. Oh my God! Like
in a Disney movie.
Disney. And like, they actually, I think, set fire to it too. Like, didn't they? And like, he came and swung and saved her, right?
Yes.
Yeah, like we saw someone about to be burned.
The fact that someone read a Victor Hugo novel and thought this would be a good movie
for kids.
That was some edgy for Disney.
That was super edgy for Disney. But yeah. So why do you have mixed feelings?
I think some people get the wrong idea because, especially in Hellenism, people know our gods. Mm-hmm. They have grown up kind of like surrounded by it, not necessarily in like they're studying about it, though a lot of people tend to have mythology units and like a mythology phase and everything growing up. But people think they know our gods better than we do, so they make assumptions about us, thinking that we are mythic literalist or something like that we condone all of the acts in mythology that by our standards are atrocious, even though some of the terminology that we have today has very different connotations than the ancient usage of the terminology.
Not to mention, what is considered okay and not okay has very much changed.
Yes, our society has changed so much, and people like to. Okay, this is coming from a very academic standpoint, but a lot of people look at things like mythology from a 21st century perspective. They have a hard time stepping back and looking at the surrounding cultural context to put that myth into the correct place. A lot of people just they look at the puzzle piece and go, "Ew, that's ugly, that's gross."
We're judging it by our standards. And let's also be honest, our standards of 2022
are very different.
It's very different also depending on where you go in the like you're on the East Coast, I'm on the West Coast. In between us, there are two very conflicting ideals. Okay?
Probably more than that.
And I mean, in some places you go and what was it? My husband just made me think of like putting ketchup on pasta.
And God.
People think it's okay. And I literally told him, I'm like, look, we're not Italian, but if you put ketchup on pasta, like we're gonna have problems.
He was like an adult in the penis, just like. Wah, 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 wah.
So he's quoting a video where an Italian in front of his mom was like, I'm gonna try to put ketchup on my pasta for my mom, and they're Italian, and she yelled at him, if you put ketchup on your pasta, you are no longer my son. And he was like, that got intense really quick. But I mean, yeah, like you can't, and this, I'm gonna bring it up, and I know it's hot, and I'm gonna bring it up anyway. It's like the N-word, right? There are many documents, many things that even I read when I was in college that were like, listen, we are not allowed to say this, but like we don't have to say it to understand, because it made people very uncomfortable in class.
Mhm.
But we're not going to get rid of it. I remember people got upset. They're like, it shouldn't be in print. And the teacher was like, no, because we're not going to pretend it didn't happen. Things were different, and good or bad. And by, our moral standards of today, because let's face it, 30 years from now, some of the shit that we're doing today might be considered not okay. Right.
Yeah. I've seen that in a lot of academic contexts. I've been really fortunate to have a lot of teachers. I actually took a Southern Studies class, which touched on that. My most recent encounter was
General
actually
human
today.
rights.
Today, I am taking a class on the history of opera, and one of the operas utilizes blackface, which it's very uncomfortable. But he was like,
good, but it should be uncomfortable, because that shows that we have progressed and learned, right?
Exactly. Or Carmen, a very famous opera, uses the slur gypsy. And the teacher took the time to address that and why it was what it was then, but today it is not acceptable.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people have a hard time separating that when they don't study things in that way, or they just haven't before. Which is very hard to have a conversation with someone who's like, no, you believe in the Greek gods. You condone all of Zeus's terrible things. And it's like,
do we condone mass genocide from like the Bible though?
Exactly.
And I'm sorry, what did Noah's Ark do? It saved the people who didn't want to, and the animals that weren't going to drown. Sorry. It is a little easy sometimes to pick on Christianity, and I feel bad about that a little bit. Little bit, like a tiny bit.
A little bit. But people think because they know the myths, they know the religion. When for a lot of religions, especially the major religions, they have a holy text. And
we
what
don't.
We would say is basically their religious text, their mythology, more or less. That's how they live their religion, or they're supposed to. And so people look at our mythology, and they would assume that our mythology is our holy text, and they don't take the time to talk to us or to understand that's not a holy text.
It's more of a passed on legacy and a guideline. Like, if I may quote Pirates of the Caribbean, it's more of a guideline, less rules, Thank you. Which is actually an interesting thing, because when my boyfriend was like, okay, I want to talk about your religion, because I really want to know about this. Like, are you serious? And one of the questions was, do you guys have holy text? And he's like, I guess your myth would be the holy text. And I immediately went, you would think that, but no. Is it probably as close as holy text as I think that we probably are gonna get? Like, maybe? Like, there's some other stuff too, but like,
our mythology doesn't exactly outline how to worship.
That's true.
So we're kind of going off of like bits and pieces.
We have a lot, but it's funny, because even though we don't have a holy text, we have, if you were, in my opinion, as the academic, please correct me, if we were to put it together, like the myths and the texts, all the texts that we have, that even if we just were like, here's just the historically based academic texts, just these, I think we actually probably have more texts than a lot of other religions. It's a lot.
We do. We have a lot of scholarship on Hellenism. And I know this is very much getting away from the question, but it's important. the scholarship we have is so immense because people have always had a fascination with ancient Greece and Rome. Always.
And they played a huge part. Like, we see the echoes of their impact. Well, I actually think it does really have to do with the question, because we're showing how it has affected our faith, right?
Mm-hmm.
We even see a lot of the echoes of the Greek and Roman Empire that have been passed on, and even how do I say? Not only, like, of course, democracy, irrigation, things like that, agriculture, but even still today, we're still seeing new references to ancient Greek and Roman civilizations.
Exactly.
Uh,
People are
Nike.
fascinated by these cultures. There's a whole host of reasons as to why, and that is a completely different stream. If we want to get into that, we can.
That's so much longer. So
Yeah.
has this positively, or so has just the media representation, because of course you are an academic, but thinking just
Mhm.
about purely the media representation, how has this affected your faith or your practice?
It hasn't really affected my practice. I'm pretty good at separating my worship from media representations. Actually, a lot better than other people I have found.
I would wager that. I think I'm very heavily influenced by the media. I don't think I would. So I actually haven't answered the question. So, so I love our shit being in media. I love it. I think the
I do
more
too.
people, that the names of the gods, the more people who have the names of the gods in their mouths, I think the more power it gives to our gods. I think the more familiarity, the more acceptance, the more common it becomes to talk about it. The only thing I think that I would like to change the most is our use of the word mythology.
Mhm.
I think we need to stop referring to it as mythology and start referring to it as religion, both within Hellenism as well as societally, because we need to come to terms with the fact that Christianity, Catholicism, Judaism, Islam are as rich history as some of them have, some of the big ones have. How do I say this nicely? We came first.
I mean, we
We just
did.
need to accept that it was religion. That we need to stop saying it's mythology, because mythology denotes it not being religion and denotes it being myth. And although it is mythos, it's not. It is, in my opinion, taking away from the reverence.
Mhm.
And I think that is something that I've been on a personal mission, despite the fact that I am one of the most casual worshipers I know. I still have a reverence, even in, I mean, there's like 20 altars in my house, so like, I don't so, and I fucking love it. I love Disney's Hercules. I love Hercules Legendary Series, Legendary Hero Series, whatever it was called. I actually like Xena way more than I liked Hercules, to be honest. It just had a much, like, so much plot, and if you watched it till the end, they actually did address the coming of new religions and how it affected, like, Hellenism. It was really
Yeah.
interesting. I'm not saying it was perfect. I'm just saying it was really interesting.
Yeah.
And they even referenced the dying out of some of the gods and stuff, which was really cool. Do I envision Aphrodite as the, Hercules and Xena actress Aphrodite? Yes, I do. But I honestly think, had I not been exposed to those things, and I think a lot of people were exposed to some of these, like you mentioned, Percy Jackson, and as you're saying, a lot of people had like some sort of myth and ancient history class. I did
Mhm.
not, which is why I'm an idiot in this subject.
Yeah,
Uh,
maybe I was homeschooled for a while, so maybe that was it.
I was homeschooled through high school. It sucked.
I was homeschooled up until high school, and then my mom was like, "Bye." She's like, "Go to public school. You're fine."
I think it was like once I could start thinking for myself, they were like, "Oh no, this is not good. Come here." Probably actually more pushed me towards other religions than anything else. But yeah, I think a lot of people started off there. Trade school instead of high school. Ooh, nice. Trade schools are very handy.
Trade schools
Um
are.
yeah, so I think I think it has affected my faith, and I think simultaneously also there's a bit of disrespect for Hellenism or for the Greek gods because by common public because they're now seen as like characters we can just play with. That
Exactly.
being said, those people aren't worshiping them, so I'm like,
Yeah, like there is a cartoon by Disney, part of their Silly Symphony series, like way old, but it is about the myth of Persephone and Hades. But the problem is, I got mad
I
when I
don't know this
first
one.
saw this. I will. I'll see if I can stream it because Disney Plus. But
Yeah.
they basically take Hades and make him like Satan, as in like the Christian devil of like the 40s.
I think that's also an issue with the Hellenism and
Mm-hmm.
paganism in media is that a lot of people who aren't Hellenist or aren't pagan in some way view things, and this is the same problem that we have of viewing things through the modern day lens. They're viewing it through their Christian lens or their Catholic lens. So yeah, a lot of people have that view of Hades
Yep.
because they're trying to relate it to like something they know. They're like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, which I get, but
Or also,
it's
there's the
not.
connotation that above is good, below is evil. Even though
Yeah,
Satan literally is not in the Bible, he has made his way into Christianity, and that
yeah,
iconography has been shoved onto other
yes.
underworld afterlife deities, but particularly Hades, because it's the underworld, you know.
And I have to say that this is also a bit of a problem. Now, I am a love and light person, but the thing that has been the past few years of like love and light, it's and I love aggressive positivity, mind you, but we have had this perpetuated notion in general in society that like light and above is good and negative and darkness is bad. Like, oh, if you're a gothic person or you like gothic fashion or things like that, you're like, oh, like it's just assumed. There are certain things that are assumed about you which I think are just fucking bullshit, but that's
They
me.
are.
And I think it's because a lot of people aren't comfortable with
Mhm.
addressing certain topics.
Or a lot of people are afraid to have their particularly religious beliefs
Mhm.
challenged.
Oh,
And
everyone is.
personally, I love a good debate. Not to
Most
brag,
people are.
I was on the speech and debate team in high school.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know. And my
I can totally see
parents,
why you're getting your master's.
my parents were both poli sci majors in college, so I literally grew up debating. Like presidential
Nice.
debates, I watch for fun. Um, yeah, I watched them more than my government teacher in high school, so that was fun because that was an election year. Anyway, I love debating about things because it helps me to solidify what I truly believe for myself. And I'm not just regurgitating something someone has told me. But I know a
Yeah.
lot of people,
Intentionally
Baptist
or
ex
not.
boyfriend, Baptist ex boyfriend, that if, like, I started to read his Bible and I would put sticky notes in because I didn't want to actually, like, write and highlight on this Bible, but, like, sticky notes of questions and things, and he was like, well, that's just the way it is, and like he would try to explain it, but I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm
Well, a
finding
lot of
things.
religions don't promote questioning. And I do understand this to a fair because at the same time sometimes I'll kind of not necessarily kill arguments but kind of kill disputes because we don't know. We are but mere mortals, and we are making
Exactly.
assumptions based off of what little information we have. And sometimes we forget that we don't have a lot of the information.
We
And we
really
just
don't.
have to kind of go with it and say, you know what? I'm going to take it this way, you take it that way. Like,
Hmm.
you know, um, but
But
I
a lot.
think that because we went and we found our gods, right? Or
Mhm.
well, they were waiting for us to find them, in my opinion.
Yeah.
We got here through questioning, right? So we're used to it a little bit more.
Yeah.
And you're an academic, so you're way more used to it than I am.
Question everything.
Yes. Okay, so I don't know, further comments on how this has affected your faith and perception? Do you have any more?
I don't know. For me, I'm really good at separating the two.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Sometimes, like in my witchcraft practice, I'll like do things that are inspired by pop culture. Not that I'm worshiping pop culture idols, but like if I
Which is a real thing now.
It is. Apparently.
I found out about it like this past year. I was like, what? I had to ask my little brother.
Pop culture idols.
It's a whole different topic.
But like, if I want to do a spell to like help a friend who's going through a rough time, and then take inspiration from Kingdom Hearts, which is a game all about friendship, I think that's fine. I think that's cool. So why shouldn't I do the same for like, I need some strength, so I'm going to do something based off of like Disney's Hercules and use like Go the Distance lyrics or something. Because why not?
God, I love that song so much.
I do too.
It is I cry to that song to this day.
I do too.
You know what's interesting? That is actually, thank you. That song has stayed with me my entire life. It has been one of my anthems. And honestly, I'm getting goosebumps again, so we know it must be right. Per the divination streams, that I would say that song is probably part of what guided me to Hellenism.
I would agree with that,
because that was a comfort for me. And I remember, like, I'm a very visual person, so I remember like frame for fucking frame. I play movies in my head sometimes just for fun because I'm bored. While I'm like doing dishes or whatever. And that, that may be why when I found Hellenism, I felt like I found home, because I knew what home was, whether I knew it or not. That was a really good reference. And then I agree. And I think if we were to say, now this is completely Victoria's UPG, if we are to say that the gods live and the gods continue to live and have lived throughout our history and have been here since whenever, which is about 600 BC according to our book club. So then it would not be out of reach, in my opinion, to say that they may have had a hand in putting some shit out there, or inspiring some people, whether or not people, and here's also my opinion. I think that any deity can come in and slap you in the face with something, whether or not you worship them or not, because they're a deity and you are a puny fucking mortal.
You might not
you
realize
don't have
it's
to get
them.
credit. Yeah, you may not. They don't need credit. They're just like, you know what? Homie needs some help. I'm gonna step in for a second.
Okay, honestly, side note, but this is related. For one of my classes, I'm writing a really quick, 2 weeks to theorize and finish a harp solo piece. I am using Hymn to the Sun, which is from Crete back in Roman times. I want to say it's 127 BC. It's around them. It's really cool. It's really pretty. So maybe in the Discord server, I'll drop a little MP3 of the computer rendering of it, because it's actually pretty cool. Yeah. But anyway, I was stuck on it for a while. I wrote out the original hymn. I copied it from one of my books into my computer program. I was like, I don't know what to do. So I slept on it. And then in the morning, I just came, sat down, and I wrote. And then I went into my lesson actually earlier today, and I was like, hey, I just want to get a second opinion on this, a second set of eyes with my composition professor. And he was like, I love this. Oh my God, this is awesome. Let's tweak a few things to make it a little bit better for harp. But overall,
a little tighter.
This is super cool. And I was just like, thanks, Apollo. Because it's from a time when Helios and Apollo were basically conflated and basically the same thing. So like they're both
Still
kind
gets
of
conflated.
they're both kind of like in, because it mentions like the chariots and stuff of Helios, but then it mentions the lyre and basically they're the same giant entity.
Yeah.
But I was just like, thank you, because my professor was like, it's written so it sounds like a lyre and everything. Like, this is going to be really cool. And even though I am aware that that was probably Apollo / the Muses coming in and being like, we got you. Other people might have that experience where they just sit down and they get into that flow state.
Yes.
They might not realize that some deity is impacting them and influencing them. Like, because when you're in a flow state, you just go.
You know what's interesting? We were talking about Hunter S. Thompson today, and we're talking about how he would get shit-faced and just write. And so how much of our religion has to do with ritualistic madness?
Yeah.
You know? So, and how many people, use substances. Please only do so if you are of legal age and responsibly, but use substances to kind of let go a little bit and let go of the rules or the confines so that they can really enjoy the moment. And or how many people try things to have like crazy experiences that they wouldn't normally be able to have. And that can happen very, very often as well, where you're like, you get into a writing frenzy, or, people get to, do whatever, people have rituals for things that aren't necessarily religious, but like, here's my tea, here's my thing, and now I'm ready to do the thing.
Exactly. People have a ritual with work. And who's to say, like Alan Menken, the composer of numerous Disney songs that we all know and love, Go the Distance, anything from Mulan, Beauty and the Beast, like he's had his hand in a bunch of Disney stuff. Yes.
Right.
Hunchback. Like he has all of the songs you sing from Disney from that time period, he's had a hand in. He does a lot of Disney stuff. Who's to say he doesn't get into a flow state, and when he was writing that song, that Apollo or the Muses, like he was connecting to something, but he was in a flow state, so he was just writing, and it just came out. We don't know that because we aren't him.
A lot of very famous composers have been like, there's been they would just get into a frenzy.
That is honestly what it is. That I should.
Who was it who would go into the woods to write? It was a very famous Walt Whitman.
Yes, Walt Whitman did that.
He had like poetry. A writing cabin. Like he would go to nature.
Was that Thoreau? That might have been
it might be Thoreau.
I think it might be Thoreau.
I don't know. Does it
matter? The Transcendentalists are all the same. Right? The Transcendentalists are all the same. You cannot change my mind. They all have the same thing. That being said, I freaking love
Walt Whitman for the record.
Really? I love the Transcendentalists. They're weird, and that's why I love them. I love to read them more than the other parts. But a lot of people, once they get, like, they can disconnect. Like, it would be us disconnecting from our phones.
Society, disconnecting from human
and like you
society.
Can tap into your creative flow, and once you get into that rhythm, it is honestly like a frenzy. Like I was writing my hymn for Dionysus. I think it's hymn 24 of the Homeric hymns I was working on. I found the rhythm, which is the traditional Dionysus rhythm, and like I just went. Like, it was midnight, and I just wrote for, like, 3 hours, and then I was like, oh, I have 3.5 minutes of music here. That's cool. I don't know how that happened, but it happened.
And interestingly enough, and this breaks my heart to say, so I wrote a lot when I was younger. When I was a kid, I wrote so much poetry.
I did too.
And one day it just stopped. The words stopped. And I to this day, I don't have the words. If you were to ask me to write a poem, like I have to really try. And it used to, and in my head, even before Hellenism, I was like, I lost the muse. I don't know what I did. Maybe I should do an offering now to apologize.
I remember I lived in Southern Virginia, and there was a seawall at the end of my neighborhood, and I would literally take like a notepad and a pencil, and I would go down there and I would sit on the sea bowl. It was fine. It was far enough back from the bay, but I would just write.
I mean, obviously you're here today.
Well, yeah. But I would just write, and like I would watch the cargo ships go by, and like I would just write and write and write, and then all of a sudden it stopped. And luckily, I found that creative outlet through music, but that's a very different.
It's a different muse.
It
literally,
it literally is.
Anyway, so rabbit hole.
Anyway, but who's to say
it has
that,
affected our faith, right?
But yeah, like who's to say that these creators in media, when they get into their flow states, especially like the creatives, who's to say they aren't tapping into some divinity? You know, we don't know, but like it's a possibility. It's a possibility. No one knows what happens in a flow state. Absolutely, no one knows, because it is literally a form of trance.
This actually goes really well into the next question on the list, which is, how would you say the gods play a part in your life?
Oh, well, we've already kind of dived into that.
I know. That's okay. I'm going to put it in here anyway. Well, in which case, let me ask you this way, because that's where I think. Obviously, for you, it's with music. I guess, is there a part of your life that the gods you think don't play a part in? Because I mean, why do you think about that? I went from ironically, I think the gods had a very heavy hand in my love life. But for me, I now say, which I would have never said even 2-3 years ago, I'm religious now. Like I'm like, and it's really funny because I was like, am I I'm not religious, and then I was like, oh, like it slowly was like, oh, I might be a little religious, and I was like, oh no, I'm very religious now apparently, and I'm like,
no, same,
like it's. And I do try. We also talk about in the server, and a lot of people talk about daily devotional acts, like buying the Hellenic Herald calendar so you can have it up and say prayers. Which I moved. That's no longer. That's my schedule for this week now.
Right. Love that.
Because I was like, I need to put this up, or I'm going to forget what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
But I mean, for me, obviously, as this channel, it plays a role actively in my everyday life because, I don't know, I'm on the Hellenic Herald server every day. I am too. We do things. Yeah. Yay! I'd be a little concerned if you weren't. Although I just realized I thought you were a mod and you're actually just a community liaison.
No, I'm not.
Are you a mod?
I'm a mod.
That's what I thought. I don't know. I must have been looking at somebody else's profile.
I was like, I am blue in this server.
Oh, you are blue. You're right. Who was it? Oh, I was looking at Lyra. Sorry. Lyra, she's running our Jackbox events for this week. That's right. Gotcha. It wasn't you. No, it wasn't you. But anyway, so awesome. We kind of also covered the next question, which is, so by the way, these are all questions from a very inquisitive person from Reddit, which I just copied their questions because it was really good. Yeah. We kind of went into it a little bit. The next question, which is, I am aware. Sorry, are you good to go to the next question?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. It says, I'm aware that there's no one text like the Bible or Torah, which we talked about. So what do you use for guidance in religious matters? And books? I think that books. Because it could be religious matters like how to do ritual, or it could be religious matters like crisis of faith or something like that, or like, I don't know.
Because there's theology.
I think this is all you, honey. Because you have all of the, I mean, I can tell you what I do. Yeah. Which is kind of bullshit, but you have way more knowledge on this, on the available texts.
I could not tell you book names off the top of my head, but I could get them for people if
But there's also a
wanted.
really great section on the ahellenicherald.com website.
That there is.
And really good references and resources, not just from us, but from other members of the community in our Discord. Sorry, it was perfect timing for a plug.
It really was. So there's books which outline the common theology that we know of from ancient Greece. And that's really cool. But just because it was commonplace in ancient times doesn't mean you have to believe all of it or any of it. It's helpful, sure, but you can take it with your own spin, you know? Like, people will say, okay, the mythology of how the universe and the gods came into being says that, you know, there were consorts of each other. And basically, to us, the family tree would look like a giant circle. But
also, how many gods are there? Like, we don't know.
yeah, but some people, like, I know there was someone, I don't remember what server it was in, but someone was like, maybe because divinity is so foreign to us, maybe the way we think of giving birth for us is very different than the gods. So what if it was them, like,
oh my god,
you know,
that's so
they
perfect.
take a little essence of them of one and the essence of another, and then that creates a new deity. And
which
that's
is
a really cool way to
essentially
look
what
like.
we do. Like,
Yeah.
as humans, it's just we do it in a different way.
Exactly. Like, they might do it energetically, whereas we do it on a very physical level. And that's a really cool way to look at it.
You know, Star Trek, sorry, Trekkie nerd here. Star Trek, I think it was in Voyager. Yeah, which is not my favorite series. But in Voyager, Q, who was an omnipotent being, of course we're going into, but it's a really good example of this. Him and some other Q member of the Q continuum we're having, and they're like basically like essentially gods, but they're aliens that just have like a lot of they've ascended or whatever. Anyway, and they wanted to create, there was a whole war about it. They were fighting and they're like, okay, we need to like create a new Q deity or whatever. And like all they basically like, now doing, you know, people have been dying for this. They like touched fingers and they were like, that was it. That's it. And like Janeway was like, that's it. We've been fighting for our lives for you guys to touch fingers? Like, are you? And but that's how they did it. You know, we don't know how it goes. So, just a weird example.
But like, we don't know everything of how divinity works. We just don't, because we're mortals. We are not divine beings. So even though we can speculate, and a lot of, for lack of a better word, mythology says, and what theology say, what philosophers say, it's speculation.
Also,
honestly,
even in the myths themselves, there's like a bunch of different ways creatures and deities come into being. Like we had one that they were sewed onto Zeus's leg. We had another one where like some DNA got on planet Earth. We got another one. We
Medusa's head got chopped off.
Yeah, we had. There's plenty.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird ways that other beings sprang out of others because of the mixing of different things.
Which you think they'd be a little bit more careful about.
In a multitude of ways. So there's that way. Like, you can look at things that way in terms of theology. Then there is the practical, like, physical side of religion. In that, we actually have pretty good archaeological evidence for it. It's been referenced in different texts, and scholars have actually done a really good job of like picking things out and being like, okay, this is what it says in this is what it says in this, so maybe it was somewhere like this. And it's our best approximate, but they can at least give us a general guideline of one of the possibilities that could have been. That doesn't mean you have to follow it, but it gives us
it's our best guess. It's an educated guess or hypothesis.
It quite literally is. It quite literally
what we
is
have.
that. That's what academia
Which is frankly the best. That's the best that anyone can do. We work with the information that we have at hand, and when that information changes, hopefully a note of good character is to accept the new information and how it may change your beliefs or your
Exactly.
practice,
Like, I know because I have it right here. I haven't put it away. Like, I had this book,
Mm.
which is about the history, which is really cool. It goes through table of contents.
I love that we both have like table mics now, by the way.
I've had this for a while, but usually it's like off to the side. And then I actually tested it on Discord and went, "Oh, that needs to be in front of me." I'm smart. I'm majoring in audio things.
Look, audio engineering and like the instrumental creation of audio are two very different things.
They're huge topics. So like this one goes from like pre-Indo-Europeans, really Indo-Europeans, because this book's from 1996. So they start at Indo-Europeans, but really they need to go to pre, which we know now. And they go through the Dark Age, the Archaic Age, different forms of
and what you said that it was published in 1986, is that what you said?
96.
We also have to consider that in our resources, because I've seen people be like, "Oh, that's not good, blah blah blah, it's out," or whatever, but it's like, okay, but it's good for when it was written, just no one decided to do a rewrite.
Like what we're doing for book club, I still have to go into our Google Doc for that and fix a bunch of the Minoan stuff, but what we knew from 85 was based on a racist dude who had a lot to prove and basically wanted to be put on a pedestal, and like this pedestal that he placed himself on got himself knighted because he was looking for the basically
my aching heart
origins of civilization, particularly Western civilization, that didn't involve dark-skinned people.
And there you go with that whole like it's through this person's lens.
Exactly. So what we know,
and sometimes
now,
we find what we're looking for.
Exactly. so like, this guy went on to Crete and found things of Minoan culture, and he wanted to find direct comparisons to the British Empire of his time, which was the early 1800s, maybe later 1800s. But dates are not my forte, but it was in the 1800s.
Yeah.
Actually, no, it was early 1900s. It was like 1900, 1901, something like that. So it was.
But of course, he was
really
looking
early.
for it, so he found it.
He was like, he saw these really big, complex structures, and instead of going, "Oh, let's investigate what this is," he went, "This is a palace. They had like a monarchy and everything," because he wanted it to be so similar to European society that now we are like, okay, those palaces are actually temples.
And that's where, again, like you mentioned before, where we have a hard time viewing things outside of the world that we know.
Exactly. So like the book we're reading, it was written or published in 85. So yes, some of the scholarship is going to be outdated, but that doesn't mean everything is bad. So it's helpful when you have someone who knows about the topic can step forward and say, "This is what it says in this book. This is what we know now."
Yes.
Which
and
is
I very much
helpful.
Appreciate that.
You're welcome. Which is very helpful. And if I don't know something, I can go to someone who knows more about it, because I know some connections to get to the more academic people, because I don't specialize in Minoan culture, but like it feeds into Greek culture.
So, and then that's another thing besides reading and text, and because there is a lot and it is very overwhelming. So if you're new, like, don't worry about, like, that's the first thing whenever someone messages me or is like, "I'm like new to the house," my first advice is don't worry about it. Do not get overwhelmed. Just, I mean, you're gonna get overwhelmed, but like, it's fine, it's okay, and you don't have to know everything. I know almost nothing. I continuously say that because I think it's not that I don't think I know things, it's that my comparison to, like, for example, someone like you who has done extensive amounts of research and has extensive knowledge is by comparison kind of pathetic.
For reference, I literally just picked up another book from Interlibrary Loan.
Nice.
These are all my books on music in ancient Greece.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot.
A lot of it's the
There's
same information worded different ways, but some of it is from different viewpoints, so they're looking at different things. Like the one I just picked up is music, text, and culture in ancient Greece, and some of these are like from around the world, so they're comparing Turkish influences and the remnants of ancient Greek music in Arab music. Which is really cool to look at, and like tracing all of these things around, which is important for me to know. But the common person doesn't need to research that. Like,
yeah. But that does show, which is what I was going to say, is another
that's a
resource
lot.
besides books is our
People.
community. People,
Yes.
community, and that's why we always say it's okay to ask questions.
Yeah.
There's a Hellenism 101, which is kind of ish what we're doing now, which is why we also we went straight to these kinds of questions as opposed to the like, how do I practice and stuff, which is because they've been answered 100 times.
Yes.
And your community is a really good guidance. At the same time, believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. In the sense that take everything with a grain of salt. You're getting the information. If you're getting it from a person, you're getting it through their lens, through their practice, which may not always align with yours. And understand that there are people who have credentials and are academics within the community, and then there are people who are just academics within the community. Like they are just very knowledgeable. They've read a bunch of stuff. They're not necessarily going for a degree, and you can take that with as little or as much credence as you choose. Personally,
exactly.
and then there's you. And I think the third thing as to where I get guidance, the gods themselves.
Yeah. Honestly, all of religion, especially for our religion in antiquity, what we are passing down in scholarship is people's UPG.
It is
Bombshell, but it is like how people worship the gods, what they offered and everything. That's what they found the gods liked. That is
at
what
that
they
time.
found.
Now
That
we
is
have
what
new
they
things.
exactly. Like no one is going to say olive oil is a bad offering. Like it was accepted in antiquity. It's
But I
accepted
don't offer
now.
olive oil at all.
You don't
I
have
never
to.
offer olive. You know
don't
what I
have to.
offered
It's
last
just
night?
expensive.
I offered some sort of Cabernet thing in a shot glass for
Perfect.
lesser mysteries. There's coffee beans on Hermes' altar behind me. Because I think Hermes likes coffee. And a lot of people also agree with this, which is called SPG, shared personal gnosis. Or
honestly, SPG is what people passing on in like passing the scholarship on is they're like this is what a majority of people thought in ancient times. And this is how they practiced. That's SPG. Like sure there was like the big communal festivals and everything. We can't really have that in the same way. Like we're not going to get a bunch of us dancing around bonfires anymore. I wish.
I'm working on it.
I wish. I need to move to the West Coast.
Where I'm like
but like we're not gonna have
we need
that.
we need to have like I mean and there is within the community there's like retreats and stuff, but like
but that's not the same as like you're
different.
living your everyday life and then your whole town everything is paused and everyone comes together for these festivals and rituals and like it's a whole big thing. Like we don't really have
it's like
that
the
in
holiday
the same way.
season, but like all year long.
Pretty much.
I honestly think that if we did holidays the way that our Hellenic calendar does them, where there's basically like some small shit going on, but there's like one big shit almost every month, I honestly think we would live a much more healthy work-life balance. I think it would leave a lot more people less burned out, but that's just me.
I think so too.
We can take religious holidays though.
Yes, we can. But like, anyway, getting back, if you wanted to come to me for ancient Greek music, I would say go for it because like I'm literally doing my thesis in it. Like I know things. People in my department.
You're actually the second person getting a doctorate.
I'm not getting a doctorate yet.
Not doctorate.
Masters.
Your masters. Sorry, masters in the community. Another one of our mods who was doing the Tarot 101 stream, Titty, in the forum, she's also going to get her master's. I think she's doing it in some like religious something.
Probably. So like there are people like us that you can go to if you have very specific questions, because my knowledge on this stuff is like a mile deep, but an inch wide.
I love that. That's great.
That is how people describe what getting your doctorate is like, and it's honestly the same way at the master's if you are into scholarship like I am.
You know,
inch wide,
very in depth in a very specific field.
Exactly. But
awesome.
If you want to come to me and get my opinion on like what a ritual practice looks like, I'm like, I can't give you the basics, but I'm not going to be able to give you all of the scholarship on it, you know?
Yeah, and then there's also
or like if you want to know
it
all
also
of the
depends
variations
on what
of a myth, I can't give you all
type.
of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
there's also
people
different
will
variations,
have different interests on different things. So I would say go to the community if you have a question. Like if it's a question that could be answered on Google, maybe don't.
Yeah, I think that's the best guidance for if you have a question that you can Google, don't ask it in the
if you type it into Google,
fine.
If you type it into Google and you get really weird answers or you just can't find what you're looking for, go to the community. But if it's like, how do I make an altar? There are so many resources out there now.
I think that question in itself is like that there's so many resources, there's so many different ways to do that. And there's so many different like sections of pagans and sections within Hellenism, like what we talked about before, revivalists, reconstructionists. Now there's hero worship. There's people who just worship the chthonic deities, the Greek pantheon. The people worship demigods and
are Julianists, I think, Orpheus.
Oh yes, Julianist. That's right. Julianist is a thing.
Julianist, Orpheus. Like there's Platonists. There's a lot of different little groups, and people tend to
find your home eventually.
Yeah, like you'll find your niche in the community.
Yeah,
but that doesn't mean you can't. Like if I went to an Orphic and I was asking questions about Orphism, like cool. That is literally their religion. That's what they believe in.
Also, I feel like it does kind of validate people when they get asked like questions about specific stuff. But again, if you can Google it, because you are taking someone's time.
Yeah, try Google. And if Google is
we should not just say Google. We should say try your local search engine, because Google is not my favorite person right now.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so and on that, talking to the community and stuff, the next question we have is, what should I do if my family and friends won't accept my faith? Fuck off. That's my answer.
There's a lot of different ways to approach this. There is a lot of different ways to approach it. What I call the northern and the southern way.
Bless your heart.
I have been known to say that to a few people.
You know what's funny is I say it unironically. Like I actually mean like, oh, you precious thing. Like, and I know that if I went to the South and said that, they'd be like,
yes. But like,
did you have an experience where I should say like friends or family didn't accept your faith?
I had an ex-boyfriend that didn't accept it. I am very much
the reason you guys broke up. Didn't you mention this?
Yeah. So during our
which is a very good reason to break up. You know, like you guys aren't aligning. Like whatevs.
Exactly. He wanted to be good memories. So basically, the TLDR is that we were in a relationship, and religion was very big in both of our lives. I was not very forthcoming with my beliefs because he was Southern Baptist, and
fair.
He wanted to be the head of a household where, like, you know, they prayed before every meal and they, you know, did Bible study together and all of that. He wanted that very traditional thing. And I would go to church services with him, which, like, even though I'm a weirdo,
that's nice.
like I went to church services with him to show support and everything, which like
That's
how
nice,
he
that's
acted
nice.
at church with me was like he basically ran in, ran out, and I was like, that's weird. But like he took me to the contemporary service, which I'm like, dude, I like organ. I would have gotten up early to go to the old people service to hear the organ in action. And you took me
It's
to
a
the
very
contemporary thing.
unappreciated instrument.
It really is. Organ's fucking
Beautiful.
cool.
Oh,
But
yeah.
contemporary worship is not my thing. But I can appreciate being in a space of community worship and the vibe. I might not believe in it, but I can at least sit there and be respectful. I don't have to laugh when the pastor says that there are demons sitting in the pews, which was just funny to me. He was talking about like social media and greed and all that. But I was just having, he's like, there are demons in the pews. And I was just like,
Yes, I'm one of them.
I'm surprised your church hasn't burned down. But
See,
like,
if I
would
didn't
make
like the
those jokes.
people, I would literally do that just to be a dick. I mean, you would, but also you would be the most talked about. It would be the most talked about service for the next year. I'm just
It
saying.
would be. But like, I approach the relationship of we have differing religions. Even if I don't believe in your religion, I can still learn about it and understand it and respect it, and that it's important for you. But he just could not do the same for me because he was like, you are worshiping. So in Christianity, there's basically this belief that if you are not worshiping, like there's God and then there's other deities, but those other deities are like a council of false gods and demons and things
they're
like
trying
that.
to trick you.
Yeah, they're trying to stray you from the true path. And he was like,
Yes.
you're worshiping one of them. You're basically worshiping a demon. And I was like, dude, Jesus and Dionysus are up there sipping wine and laughing at humanity. You cannot change my mind.
I think that's just really rude.
Yeah.
It's just rude, in my opinion.
It's just
like,
rude.
Look, like I gave you your shit. Like that's like taking someone like to do like your hobby, like your thing, right? Like thing that you love, or like a store that you love, or movie, right? And they're just like, "What the fuck is this shit?" Like,
yeah,
and not even that they don't like it, but now they're actively like trash talking it, and it's just like that's kind of rude.
Yeah, and then he was like, "Your religion is a danger to me and my future kids' souls," which like.
Well, I'm pretty sure the kids' souls would have come from you. So
what souls?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
but like
it's hard though.
If it's a partner or a friend that you can distance yourself from them. Nothing is saying you have to keep them in your life.
Yeah.
When it's a family member, it's a little harder, especially if you are still living at home. You are in a position where you are not financially independent. You kind of have to play a game of what your beliefs are, but you aren't going to necessarily say it outwardly. You're not going to make a big spectacle of your religion, which I have feelings. I don't think religion should be a spectacle anyways. But
I mean, we have festivals, so I feel like it should be for us.
but like everyday daily worship, like I'm not going to make a big spectacle of it.
Let me rephrase that. It can be for us. You don't have to. I was going to say that you don't, like you said, you don't have to share your faith with anybody else. You don't have to ever answer that question.
No, you don't.
It's yours, and there's a
Exactly.
lot of solitary practitioners within the pagan and Hellenic community, and it's perfectly normal, fine, and valid. Like that was just my 3 cents on that. Sorry.
It really is. Like now that my parents know I am religious, but not of the Christian variety, like, they understand that Christmas for me is not a religious event, it's a secular event.
Yeah, I got a lot of shit about Christmas for the first couple of
years.
Yeah,
I did too. It was like, oh, you're not Christian, you're not gonna get any Christmas presents anymore. And I'm like, it's the way we celebrate Christmas. Okay. We don't need to secular anyways.
Yeah, I'm like, we don't need to fill landfills anyways. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm not doing it for you. Like and it, like, are you honestly, doing it because of the religious reasons too?
It's kind of funny. I am very much tuned into nature and things like that. So like for me, the winter solstice is a bigger deal because there are ties
I was married
You-
on the winter solstice.
Oh, that's so cute.
And it was exactly for the religious reasons, because the winter solstice is important in pretty much every religion.
Yeah.
And
And
so I
like
was like, no
there's
matter what religion my kids are, like, they'll be
there's
fine.
possible ties to Dionysus being reborn on the winter solstice.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. So like it's important for me. And honestly, I love to bake. So one year I was like, hey, I'm gonna try a new recipe, and it was a Yule log cake. And yeah, I make a
Nice.
bomb Yule log cake. I make it only for the winter solstice because it's special. And my parents
Nice.
were like, okay, why are you doing this? I'm like, it's for the solstice. I'm doing this for the solstice. We can have Christmas like normal. I'm not going to say anything when you want to pray before dinner or anything, but the solstice is mine.
Yep.
And it's kind of funny because the first year I made it, they were like, man, this is a lot of work. And then they tasted it and they went, this is a tradition every year.
Oh.
And slowly it's become just from the dessert to me incorporating like a little ritual to like, you know, as we end the year, we're going to like write something on a piece of paper and like
That's so sweet.
burn it. And then we're gonna like talk about like all the good things that have happened to us that year and then like what we want in the coming year. And like my family's been receptive to it over time, but it was definitely not that way at first. It was like, you know, oh, you don't want to have Christmas anymore? And then it was like, hey, here's a cake. And then the cake was good enough, like, they came around.
I feel like with it, because I had that too, and I feel like what a lot of that is that people feel like because you're doing your thing, you can't or don't want to be a part of my thing anymore. And especially when it comes to parents and kids and family dynamics, by saying that you don't like to or don't want to do their thing in any way, or if it's perceived that way, it's almost as if you're saying you don't want to be with them, which admittedly for my family, there's a lot of them I don't want to be around, but my
own grandmother blocked me.
Huh?
My own grandmother has blocked me.
Oh. Yeah, I'm a bridge burner. It's a bad habit of mine, to be honest.
I am too.
I just don't have room in that shit. I look, I got 12 gods in my life. I don't have room in my life for toxic shit. Like I just don't. I'm sorry. Like there's a lot in my life already. So I think that, and that's a really good way. I might try that. That's a really good way to incorporate and get people, because I do Saturnalia, which is technically Roman, but like whatever.
Yeah.
And I also do obviously celebrate the solstice for a variety of reasons, marriage anniversary and whatnot.
Yeah.
But one year, and this was I think my first stand for my religion, was I put on my Christmas cards, my holiday cards, happy holidays and joyous Saturnalia. And like, thank you. My family, my mom, I remember, was so mad. She's like, what the fuck is Saturnalia? And like, apparently she legitimately got supposedly phone calls from people being like, and she was like, I don't, what should I tell them, daughter? And I was like, tell them to go fucking Google it. Like, and because I was kind of outed by my little brother in the sense that I think I told the story, the conversation happened. So like, they were like aware for like a while and it just wasn't talked about. And I was not the first non-Christian in my family. My brother, my twin brother, during my teen years, I remember he went through a flying spaghetti monster phase, which was hilarious because he had I already swore, so it doesn't matter. He had the balls to be like, okay, you did your prayer and I'm gonna do my prayer for dinner. And I love because he would always end it with ramen, and it was always really funny. And I was like, this is possibly, and still to say, possibly one of the more hilarious points of my childhood. But I was like, look, he was a pastafarian, and like, and now he's atheist. Why am I getting shit? Like,
yeah.
And they did, you know, it was a thing with the religion and Christmas and stuff, and to which I went and with backup from my twin brother because like he was an atheist and also loved debating. I'm not that good at debating. I don't have the energy for it. And so I was like, some of your Christmas holiday religion came from me, by the way, my religion. So like maybe glass houses, throwing stones. And so I do think that we as a community should stand up for our faith. And if people don't like it, then the people who matter don't mind, and the people who mind don't matter. And does that mean that your family doesn't matter? No, because I understand the pain of like, having that issue with your family. And maybe it just for you guys just becomes a topic that you don't talk about. And that's okay if you don't want to talk about it and go into it. My personal thing is like, look, and I had this conversation a couple of times. When I say conversation, I mean it was more of a statement that I made, primarily in front of my father, who is technically a reverend, from I don't know, some bullshit website. But I went to him a couple times and I was like, look, this is a thing. This is a big thing in my life now. And you just have to come to terms with it. And I say non-ironically, bless his heart, he got me a like spiritually notebook from for Christmas. And in a previous last year, also was it last year? No, he's done a couple of things like giving me books or like, oh, I saw this and I thought you would like it because it has like Greek stuff or whatever. And I was like, thanks, Dad. Like that means a lot to me. Like I appreciate it. And there may be those circumstances where but we don't really talk about my religion, but he is saying in one way or another that he accepts it and is I almost got ungodmothered. I'm my little brother's godmother. And yeah, I almost got ungodmothered because of my religion, because my little brother bless his heart again, unironically. And this is partially because my little brother has grown up with me and my twin brother calling our parents on our bullshit, because of course we're adults now and they can't do anything about it. And he came to me and asked me about Hellenism. And about being pagan and all that stuff and all my experiences and other gods and stuff. And apparently I'd gone back to my father, and my father then came to me and was like, I would prefer that. And he was very nice about it, but it was very much, he's like, I would prefer you not talking to him about religion, about your religion. I was like, so pray tell who will talk to him about my religion. And he's like, I will. I'm like, and what the fuck do you know about my religion? Do you even remember what it's called? And he was like, no. And I was like, then you should shut up. And apparently that's what my little brother said to him too. No, I mean, it may have been less of the you should shut up, but it was like why would you know about her religion?
Yeah.
Like, who would know more? And I mean, I was like, I mean, he's not wrong. Like, and so I almost got de-godmothered because like that was part, and I pulled out my godmother card in that conversation. I was like, well, it is my job to teach him about religion. Now you have done a great job with your religion, and there's a lot of resources, but like mine, and other ones too. And he's like, what do you mean other ones? I'm like, I might just take him on a tour of churches and temples and mosques. And he was like, very, very definitively ended that.
I bet.
But I mean, you can treat it with sass. You can also treat it with not talking about it.
Yeah, like there are certain things that are just banned topic of conversation with some relatives. Yeah, like politics is banned with some family members because
politics is all. My dad and I have a no politics Facebook agreement, and anytime, most of the time, he flubs it up a little bit, and I will literally go to his house and be like, so I saw you commented on my post with something political. Would you like to end the political ceasefire? Because we can end that. And you're going to be outnumbered.
Yeah, my paternal grandmother blocked me on Facebook because I called her out on some religious/political bullshit. And
It
I
happens.
was kind of harsh. I was kind of harsh because I was just mad because I'm like, you are a postmenopausal woman giving opinions on things that are not valid. And I won't get into the politics of it because that's not what this stream is about. But she blocked me instead of just coming to me and being like, "You were a little harsh,
Yeah.
but let's talk about it." She was just like, "Nope." I also might have
And
said that
that's
she
it. You know,
was,
you can go and have like a civil thing like that. Like,
but some people aren't open to that, and you just have
there's
to.
nothing you can do. Yeah.
But like coming out to family is not an easy thing.
It's not.
In any matter, religious, sexuality, gender, doesn't matter.
My brother outs me on a lot of things, I just realized. Like, this kid cannot keep a secret. Jesus. Like, I was gonna say, I was outed as Pan. And Polly too. Like, I was at my parents' house and he's like, "Congratulations!" Like, I'm like, "Oh my god, shut up!" Like,
I came out as bisexual mid debate, so that's fun. Yeah, that was fun. And now, every once in a while, like when I go home, my mom does a thing of like she'll buy me things and be like, "I got you all these things," because that's one of her ways of showing love is gift giving, which I'm fine with it. But like, there's always rainbows. Like when I come home for Christmas breaks, she'll put a new set of Christmas sheets on my bed. One year it was gnomes. Now, there was a running gag in my household that I hate gnomes, and my mom loves gnomes. So, like, when you go to like TJ Maxx or something and they have like the gnomes that sit up and everything, my mom will put a bunch of those around the house, or at least she used to. And I would put them in suggestive positions. And my mom was like, "Stop it." And then my dad got in on it until she got mad enough that we were like, "Oh, we can't do that anymore because it's really pissing her off." But one year I came home and like she bought me a second set of sheets for Christmas, but like I pulled back my covers and there were Christmas gnome sheets. So that was really funny. But then this year it was like rainbow trees.
oh, that's nice.
So even though she's like, for my generation, it's, it doesn't matter what you label as, it doesn't matter what you do in your private life. Why do you have to label everything? And it's hard to have that conversation.
I legitimately had that conversation with my dad like a week ago.
Like, why do you have to label everything? I don't get it. You do what you do in your personal life and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And it's hard because I am not my entire generation. As a Gen Zer, I am just not.
Millennial. That's right. I forgot you're younger than me.
Yeah. I am I'm in that weird phase of I'm definitely Gen Z, but I'm not a Tide Pod either. You know?
I forgot.
I am too old to be stupid enough to eat a Tide Pod. But when I look at my sister who's 2 years older than me, I'm like, you're a fucking millennial. Which is kind of funny.
Don't they call them like Zennials?
I don't know. That's an ugly name, and I am not doing that.
Really? I think it sounds like a dinosaur.
Maybe. I like geriatric Gen Zer.
That's nicer.
Can we steal that from the millennials, the geriatric millennials? But like in any fashion of coming out, it's hard, and a lot of times,
and you never have to.
Again, you never have to. But if you do, understand that, especially parents, whether they intentionally have this or not, they have an idea of what they think your life is going to look like.
And what they think you are going to be.
Exactly. And when you do something that breaks that, it can be earth-shattering to them. So you have to give them time to process.
Yes.
And when they ask questions, even if it comes out a little harsher than you think it should, you have to step back and be like, they're not necessarily angry at me, but things in their brain are being rearranged. And they're trying to process that, which can be very hard.
And I think any form of message or something like the rainbow trees or like, little gifts or something like that. I think any form of saying I accept this, and or I will tolerate it. And I think it goes from like I will tolerate it to I accept this
Accept
to
it.
I'm glad you're you.
Mm-hmm.
I think should be marked as a step forward, as a good thing. And
It really is.
and it is, and it's just their way. And some people may not be able, like, especially I notice there's people whose love language is gifts. They're not good communicators.
No, they're
uh
not.
they're
They
not.
are not,
and
and
and,
it's
and
really
so
hard.
saying stuff, yeah, for them is really hard. Yeah.
It's really hard, but like, actually, my mom got me this book. It was a
Aw.
surprise when I came home from this semester. She was like, I saw this at a little like dude selling books at a farmer's market, and I thought of you when I saw this, so she picked it up for me. And I was
I
like,
will
that's
say
really
that the more shocking I think the thing that the easier other things are.
the harder other
Like,
things.
well, like, so my parents are like, she's Hellenist, but it's a different religion. So coming and being like, I smoke weed now. They were not fussed at all. They were like, when did that happen? And like that was kind of it. Like,
Yeah.
and I think also how we respond indicates the tone of the conversation. Because if you treat something as like, this is just how it is, it's just fact, like, why are you upset about it? Like, then that kind of indicates the tone of like, oh, is this something I should be upset about? Like, is
Exactly.
it? Um, so there's like, it's very nuanced, and it depends very much on the relationship that you have with your family and
Hmm.
friends. But
But like at first, there's going to be a block or a barrier, and
some resistance.
you can't help that. Especially since most people, especially in the United States, where we both are, people are raised in Christianity.
Yeah, a lot of people.
So there is a block. And then there's going to be questions as people start to learn. Or sometimes it's not even questions, it's observing how you act. Like,
Yeah.
going to national parks and stuff with my parents last year, they were like, oh, you're like meditating out there and you're being like super respectful to the land and like you're doing all these things
Yeah.
and you're just happy. And like,
Mhm.
we went to Grand Teton, which if you guys ever get a chance to go to that national park, go. Like
Yeah.
just go, because that was a moment where I just had like a divine experience. I could not explain it, but my parents could like see it on my face.
Yeah.
Like, I want to go back because I fell in love with it. I was like, we need to go back all the time. Um,
I actually had that at
like,
the Getty Villa, which is
mhm.
it's a museum. It's privately owned, and it's supposed to be like a Greek or Roman house. And
Oh,
it was interesting because, oh, I got featured in a magazine because of it.
oh,
Kind of. So my offering got featured in a magazine.
ooh,
I should go find it. They had an Aphrodite. They still have an Aphrodite statue.
mhm,
Um, and they had put up a little like wire thing where like little slips of paper and pencil next to it where people could leave like notes or whatever, and people leave. And so that got featured in a magazine because it was really cool, because it was full. It was like, I mean, that this thing was like a 6 foot tall, like probably 6 or 8 foot wide, like in a circle on the edge of
mhm,
like around the statue. Because like there was the statue, then there was like a round around it, and then
mhm.
they put that up against the wall basically.
Yeah.
And the article was about how many people legitimately left messages for Aphrodite.
Mhm.
And I left offerings. Let me picture my offering was the magazine.
Aw.
And also people do notice it, because when I've gone there a few times, and I was like, hey, I said this to my boyfriend at the time we took me. It was the second time I went. I was like, just so you know, I am going to leave offerings and I might pray. And he was like, okay. And the tone, I did stop at I think it was a Athena statue or something.
Mhm.
I can't remember which one it was. But I swear to you, the air in the room changed, and people, like, you could hear a pin drop, because I kneeled down and I was praying,
Mhm.
and like the vibe change. People pick up on it. People see it and then they respect it. And
Mhm.
especially if they see that it's someone they care about and it's making them happy, I think.
Yeah. Like, I don't openly, like, once my family says their prayer at, like, Thanksgiving dinner, I don't say my own Thanksgiving prayer. I
Mm-hmm.
say mine silently while they're
Mm-hmm.
saying theirs, which to me is a bit more respectful. But like, if I'm
Mm-hmm.
out in nature, like, you know, my fam. Oh, hello.
Hey, Haley.
But like, my parents got used to me like running outside, dancing in the rain, and like laughing and having a joyous experience, and being like, I'm saying hi to Zeus, and
Yeah.
like, and they're like, okay. Or like, in Florida, like the thunder and the lightning is some of the most extreme in the entire world.
It
So
is.
like,
I've been to Florida when I was much younger, and I remember that it was like on the dot of the hour, it was like pouring rain.
scientifically, Florida has some of the hottest lightning in the entire world.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So like, that is Zeus Central.
You
But
know what I'd
like,
love to get? I'd love to
mhm,
get those bits where like the lightning hits like the ground and like and it makes the lightning glass or what it's called.
yeah, yeah,
That would be great for they're super expensive though.
yeah, they are. Um, but like, if it wasn't a thunderstorm, I would like run out and like dance in the rain and have a good time with Zeus, like, because it's rain. But if it was thundering, I would stay inside and I would be like, "Ooh, Zeus is mad today," and like I would make jokes like that, and my family just like
Yeah.
laughed at it, and like it just kind of sunk in. Like, the more I talked about it casually
Yeah.
and nonchalantly, it just started to kind of catch on.
And that's exactly what I mean when it's like you approach it like, yeah, this is just fact. Like what are you mad about? Like
Yeah.
it's like and I think and that for me is why I really pushed and I'm happy to do it on my own, but I'm even happier when amazing guests join me and amazing people do things with me. You're not a guest anymore. This is our thing now.
Yeah, this is our thing.
It's like the third time we're doing it. It's a thing now.
Third, fourth, something like that.
I don't know. Yeah.
Uh-uh.
That the more we talk about it, and similarly with the first question we talked about, which was the in representation in media, the more we talk about it, the more accepted it's going to become, and the more people just get used to it. That it's not earth shattering. It just feels like it is for like a brief minute in
Mhm.
time,
And I
and
think,
that it's fine. And
and I,
this is still
as
new.
Gen Z, like, we are getting older. Like, I'm in the first like 2-3 years of Gen Z. I think the cutoff is like 95, 96,
Hmm.
maybe 97, somewhere in there. I'm 98, so I'm 23. I'm a wee babe. Uh, I know, I don't seem
I'm
23.
89.
I know, I don't seem 23. I'm sorry. But like,
You don't. You don't seem 23.
I'm sorry.
But I didn't seem it early. Actually, I was always cold. Like people always thought I was older than.
People always thought I was older, and I have a really funny nickname from high school about that, but that's not stream appropriate. Um, but it's really funny. Anyway, like, I forgot where I was going with this. Oh
Gen
yeah,
Z's getting older.
yes,
Acceptance.
yes. So we're really pushing, like, we are going to be who we are.
Yeah.
If I was 18, oh no, I'm back teching high school marching bands. Fun fact, I was teching a high school marching band one time in Key West, and this girl literally thought that I was there to like audition for the drumline and I was new. And I went, "Hi, I'm your teacher." And her face
Nice.
dropped. It was
Best
fantastic.
compliment ever.
Mind you, I was
Also,
literally like 19, 20 years old at the time, but it was a fantastic feeling to be like, "Hi, I'm your teacher."
nice.
It was fantastic. But yes, I am 23. I got good genes. I'm gonna age like a fine wine, hopefully. Oh, thank you. I actually have a lot of energy today. I had some pineapple salsa, and I'm gonna blame it on that.
Also,
But like,
we can control our lighting.
that is true.
We don't have the best lighting, but what we can control, we do.
That is
So
true. But like, the younger generation. I think millennials, like Gen X started it, millennials spearheaded it, and now Gen Z's just like balls to the wall.
Y'all picked up and just ran with it.
We were
Y'all were
like
like, we're gonna
balls to the
pull
wall, balls to the
like
wall. F the world. We're gonna be who we are because life sucks anyway. So if life's gonna suck, I'm gonna look weird and do it.
yeah.
And I think I have that mentality. Like my sister she's 96. She's very much concerned with like, how people perceive her and stuff. And I'm just like, I know you're going to be teaching, but like if I ever teach, I'm going to be teaching at a collegiate level because high schoolers scare me.
As they should.
They scare me. Middle schoolers even more, but teenagers scare me. But like I can be out. Like I can be. My Gen X parents have come around. I have now approached it with
I'm
my
sorry.
boomer grandparents.
I told my grandma.
I have not
No.
yet.
I told her she's actually watched some of our streams.
Oh, that's so
I know, and she's so cute. Like
so cute.
you are.
Teenagers are scary.
Oh man. But yeah, so I went to my grandma and she's still like, I'm trying to get her to stop saying she's going to pray for me as much. Like she says it excessively. And look, after the third or fourth time, I start getting offended, like in one conversation. Okay.
Yeah.
Like I start being like, I get it. Yeah. She's wonderful. I went to her basically and cause I told her, I'm like, listen, I'm not, me and your God just don't jive, grandma. And she was very sad about it. And then like I had some religious experiences and I went to her and I literally sat down. She lives with my parents now. She literally in my old room. And I sat and I was like, Grandma, I have something important to tell you. And she's like, what? And I'm like, I understand religion now. And she's like, and I'm like, still not your religion. And she's like, oh, and I'm like, but I get it. And here's what happened. And blah, 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 blah. And she's like, yes, that's how I feel with like God. And like in Armenian, because it's her English is her second language. But basically she was like, yes, that's exactly how it is. Like you had it. And she still says with God. And I understand that she's meaning with your gods. But like, that's where, and then I was like, yeah, grandma, like I call our Discord a church because I just can't relate it any other way to her. Like they're just not the words, but she's watched our streams. Elaborate how, on what? And yeah, and I've had my little brother put it on his computer and just put her in front of it. And then he'll type. It's in the very earliest of the streams before it even started going on YouTube. I should invite her to one of because to like watch the streams and have like my little brother who's on the server
That
like
would be so cute.
She genuinely loves it. And afterwards I've gone back and talked to her about it. She was like, you did a very good job with like the candles and and I'm like how do you understand how do I understand religion? So we said it earlier, I'm religious now. Like I wouldn't have called myself religious before, but like the fact that one of the questions was okay, when I say I understand religion now, I mean I understand why it is so important to her or to other people, particularly Christians. I don't understand the fear. I don't have fear of death. So I don't understand the fear that their loved one is going to hell because they don't believe the same religion as you. But I did have that conversation with my little brother, and to which, if you would like the answer to that, since we're talking about family and friends, because I do think that's a genuine fear, and I can understand that fear because that's like saying that something really bad is going to happen to my child or my friend because of this thing, and I don't want that to happen to them. So I get it. And my answer to that question was this, which might be helpful to some people. If it is your afterlife and you are in the good place, then anything that you would want to be there for anything you require to be there for it to be the good place will in your mind be there, or you will simply not know that it is missing because that's what you deserve. You have deserved a good afterlife. And in order for it to be that way, these are the requirements that need to be met. So even, and he's like, and my little brother was he's like, so you're telling me there's gonna be like a fake you? And I'm like, but you won't know it's a fake me. You will just know that it is as close to me as I am here standing in front of you. And the same thing for me. If I were to go end up in, let's, fingers crossed, the Elysian Fields. Hi, Persephone. Um, then I'm like, then you will be there for me, you know? And that is what that's supposed to be like, right? That's what it's supposed to be. So it shouldn't make a difference. And they're like, well, what if, like, and I was like, and if I'm not your religion, then I am not bound by your religion's guidelines. I'm bound by my religion's guidelines, right? If we're assuming that mine is as valid as yours, which we would hope would be the assumption in this
I
conversation.
hope.
It seems like a respectful conversation. um in which case I'm not going to hell. And I'm, and now if I'm still an asshole, then I'm going to my hell, or Tartarus, or whatever. And in which case your fear of me going to your hell is not valid anymore. Like, not that it's not valid, not that the fear is not valid, but it's not going to happen. And that's assuming that both of our religions are real and that we're both not wrong, So I think that, and I hope that that actually helps somebody, because that was a really big, hard conversation for me. And honestly, that's the way I answered it, off the cuff, and I was never more proud of myself. But so I understand how it feels, that this is really important to me, and I think it's really important to you too, be like it. So I like having something that guides our lives, and that is really, it's so comfortable. Oh, I'm so glad. It is. It's a little bit of the nerve, the gall, and the fear. And I think, and we mentioned anger earlier, and I want to mention something. When it comes to anger, we have to recognize that anger is a secondary emotion. Anger is, thank you for saying I should be. Bless you. What it is it's usually hurt, fear, it's something else. They're angry as a reaction to that primary emotion. And so when they're angry at you and people are coming at you, and which I had recently, although it was very calm, but my person I know, I told them this past week, and I didn't realize how draining it was until I couldn't do anything for the rest of the day. Like, I was so drained. And it was a very civil conversation, but it was just the continuous repetitive invalidation. And it really hurt my heart, because I honestly thought better of this person, and we are going to have a conversation about that. But I wasn't mad at her. I was feeling invalidated. I was on the defense, and I was trying to do it with kindness, which honestly, if you were able to have that conversation with kindness,
it's hard.
It's hard.
It's so hard.
Because it does hurt. And when it hurts us, we have to remember that that's how they're feeling too. That pain, because then to them, you being you and your religion is invalidating their religion. And that's not the case. We can both be wrong and we can both be right. Especially if you go by my cul-de-sac theory, which I think is really good.
I like it.
Yeah, that was a lot. Sorry.
No, you're good. But it's hard for some people who have had religious experiences within a mainstream religion to not understand how some people do not have those experiences.
Yeah. And I didn't have those experiences until I was Hellenist.
Same for me. Like, I tried. Like, I in high school tried a youth group thing, and we had like a lock-in, and there was like a, come forward if you were, feeling the spirit of Jesus, and it was like blah, 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 blah.
I'm glad. I think it's a nice theory that makes
it is a nice theory.
It's like everyone is valid.
Yeah.
And maybe our houses look different and our hedges are different and the way that we live together is different, but that
doesn't mean we can't be friendly neighbors.
Yeah. Go bring a casserole over.
Exactly.
Jesus is bringing the wine. Or
Mhm.
rather, he's in charge of backup.
He's in
Backup
charge of
wine.
backup.
Yeah, he's Dionysus is bringing the
Yeah, but like
wine.
in youth groups, there was like this big retreat, and we were having one of those like really intense religious things where it's like if you are ready to truly accept
Oh
Jesus
my
and God
God,
into your
yes.
life, and people were going up and they were like, yes, I'm ready, and I was just sitting there like, I get the vibe, and I
Yeah.
could get caught up in the vibe, but I just can't. And like the youth pastor was phenomenal. Like I will always love that man, even though I don't hold the same religious beliefs. I will love that man because he's genuinely like he lives the Christian religion as it should be.
Good.
Like
I mean, that's how it is. You
like
want to
he
be the best
lives
you.
exactly. But he was like, this is a big step. If you cannot take this step at this time, it's okay. And
I
if you
think
never
that's
take this
important right
step,
there.
it's
That is
okay.
so.
And that really helped me
I got
being like,
chills. See, you gave
I
me
know.
chills.
You're welcome.
That's it right there. Is that just because someone is doing something different or they're not ready to be as devoted or whatever, it's still valid.
So like for me, I could not step forward and be like, yes, I am ready to accept the Christian God into my life, because I just didn't connect that way. And then through the years, I tried a bunch of different things, and I was like, I'm spiritual, I'm not religious. And then once I found religion and I had that experience, I was like, oh.
Yeah, it was very scary for me the first time
And
too.
it's really hard to explain it if you have never had that reaction to something.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I could explain it other than just like it was like mind blowing.
I was 100% fucking sober, and I had a experience that gave me a more than like a real idea of, wow, I am a tiny ant. I am in a fishbowl and there are bigger things than me. And that is not an experience that everyone walks away from humbled or
no.
or taking well. There's a lot of people that walk away from that experience, especially if they're not in the right house. Because I saw that experience. I saw man, don't do this to your kids. My parent we went to a new church, and they don't send your kids into a building that's not finished being built yet at night. That's just a bad idea. Okay, it's the things that nightmares are made of. Number one, nothing bad happened. Number two, they got us in circles and they split up me and my twin brother, which there is no love lost. I mean, there's plenty of love lost between me and my twin brother, but I don't know how to use that phrase properly. We don't love each other, okay? But we were each other's lifeline in this situation. And people started talking in tongues and falling on the floor and looking like they were having legitimate seizures. And here's me, the prep planner person, being like, we need to call the ambulance. I'm like, no, they're communing with God. And I'm like, they are not. They're gonna die, and I'm gonna be like implicated. And I'm having this like, I'd never seen it before. I didn't even know what talking in tongues was. And that was terrifying for me. And although I don't have that, I've never experienced that. I have experienced situations where I was not in control of my physical fucking body. And I didn't realize it till after. And that's an experience that'll be like, okay. Like, or you for me, I found a pillar or something. You just don't get it until you get it. And I think that when you get it, you will
get
know.
it.
Like, I wish we could explain it better than that.
Yeah. My sister is agnostic. Because we've had the religion
And not
conversation.
everyone, since you're saying agnostic, not everyone will or should get it.
Exactly.
It's totally still fine.
Exactly.
You need, we have positive ions, we have negative ions, and we have the neutral ones. So like the people who maybe don't pick a house, like they're the one keeping up the streets, right? They're doing the maintenance. I'm loving this analogy. This just gets better. I am too. Time. Really every time I say it, it just gets better and better.
My family has a dinner table policy that nothing is off the table.
Oh.
We can talk about pretty much anything, within reason.
That's
And
nice, like a safe space.
yeah,
It's
like
nice.
it is nice. And if when I have kids, I hope to continue that because I really like it. That, the dinner table, we can get together as a family. We start off talking about our day, then we just divulge into various things, which some of them, like, people's mouths would drop if they knew we talked about this over dinner. But, like, it is what
Now I
it
want the
is.
gossip.
That is not for a stream.
No, I did not mean on stream.
But, like, when we were talking about religion, like, we were very much done with our food. And, like, because, like, we will do our food, like, we will have our meal, and then we will have this serious discussion over, like, dessert or something, because that happens. Or, like, we're just talking. Yeah.
It's hard. I'm sorry, Haley.
It can be hard.
Oh, and I wanted to mention on the
Mhm.
note of like being in the closet and like not necessarily sharing it with your family, mini altars
Yes.
are a big thing of which I hope to bring to Hellenic Herald. So there's literally a box filled with essentially like tins, like Altoid
Mhm.
tins, but they're not out they're non-branded tins.
Oh, love that.
And that I hope to bring because I know that there are many families like yourself, Haley, who they just can't practice openly, or maybe they don't want to.
Yeah.
And I think that that's an underserved thing. Anyway,
It
but
really is.
but it's great having. I think dessert is the best time to talk about really harsh stuff because
It
who's gonna
really
get
is.
mad when you're eating like cake? Like really?
Yeah.
You have cake.
People will cry though. We'll say that.
Oh, I mean, the number of times I've cried while eating ice cream or cake is
no,
ridiculous.
it
Like,
really is. But we got on the topic of religion, and this was at a time I was still figuring things out. I knew I was spiritual. I knew I was pantheist, but I didn't find my home yet. Like, I was still kind of
Mhm.
wandering and, like, trying different, like, parties, I
yeah.
was just, like, going, like, in a sorority, you go to, like, an open house. I was doing a bunch of that. And sometimes I would get a little farther in the process, but sometimes it didn't. And that's fine. But we were talking through religion, and my sister was just like, I want to believe there's something, but I can't experience it. I can't feel it. I can't physicalize it. So I just don't understand the religious experiences. And
Yep.
that's okay. One of my cousins, he is a chemist. He is uber smart. He's atheist, and, like, he makes jokes about it all the time in our very religious family. Like, I have Catholics and Protestants in my family. It's a very Christian-dominated family on both sides of the spectrum. So we have an atheist, we have an agnostic. I don't know what some of my other younger sibling or cousins are and stuff. And then there's me, which I'm probably the weirdest one. Like, atheist and agnostic people are like, okay, I get that. And then there's me.
Yeah. And yeah, both my partners are atheist. I have altars in both houses now, which is frankly one of the most sweet things in my opinion.
Really
that a
is.
And yeah, Haley, there's tons of stuff. I mean, if you want to, if I fully support this is who I am. You don't like it? Fuck, I don't give a shit. But if you don't want to get yellow, there's look, crystals are big, candles are big, and I'm sorry, can you guys hear it? My
Kind
husband's
of.
playing Encanto.
I love Encanto so much.
So much.
I literally
Oh my God.
finally got the soundtrack out of my head
Sorry.
like a few days ago.
So coming from a Christian family, I get this intense guilt. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. It is again, I think it's a slow transition.
It is.
For a lot of people, it's them again coming to terms with the fact that you are your own adult. You do not necessarily believe the same things that they believe, and that is okay. Like it's I could see that. Like I as a significantly older sibling, my little brother is not what I expected him to be right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't love that. And it kind of annoys the shit out of me. Man, but like he is who he is. So I don't have it as much as like a parent would, but I definitely felt it at times where I was like, how, why, like, um but it takes time, and I think a great way to kind of go into it is the candles, is the crystal, if you can afford the crystals, or just go dig up your own rocks. I literally dug mine up. There's the bag right there. I mentioned it earlier in the stream. Um, like, oh, did we lose B? You back?
Yep, I'm back.
Okay. I was like, I saw you froze for a second. We're gonna have to
Oh,
end soon anyway, because I gotta go
yeah.
food shopping. Um, I think it is it is immensely hard on both sides, and it feels immensely invalidating, and it hurts that they don't support you the way that you want them to. So in a way, we have to also realize that, like, they're not being who we want them to be either, and that hurts, right? So it takes a little bit of healing from both sides, but
I
you
will
have your
say,
family here.
yeah.
So I don't
Some
have sisters. I'm happy to adopt some. So
some people's blood relatives will never come around. They're just not going to put in the healing work. And at a certain point, you have to understand that once you
and
are at
also
a
nobody's
point,
required to do it. I think we have to realize that. No one's
yeah, no
just
one's
because,
required.
yeah.
So once you get to a point where you can safely and securely do this, you can push people back to arm's length. You can set those
Yeah.
boundaries, and that's totally okay.
I think it's immensely important to set boundaries, especially when it comes to our spirituality, especially since we also have the very controversial topic, which we are not going to get into, of miasma.
Oh boy, that could be a whole
That would be
topic.
a whole thing on its own. And protecting ourselves emotionally as much as we would spiritually, or even physically, I think is very important. Which I think Gen Z is like really hammering on, which thank you, but can you please stop invading my TikTok? I mean, look,
Actually, I
think one of
saw
the
a really
first
cool
tracks.
article. I saw a really cool article about Gen Z from, I don't remember what news source, but it was that a lot of Gen Zers are actually adopting gender neutral pronouns and experimenting with different pronouns and stuff, and basically being like, too bad. And I think that is so cool. Like, that's just
I'm definitely she her.
I definitely am she her as well.
However, I've got a lot of masculinity in me. Thanks, Aries. I'm very sure it's Aries. I'm very sure that Aries is the one that is pushing that train. But so I have definitely would like to take the opportunity at some time to explore that more masculine side. And especially as connected, and that's how we're religious, because it bleeds into everything,
Yeah.
especially connected to spirituality, because I don't connect with a lot of the masculine deities
Mm-hmm.
very much at all. In fact, Dio and Dio is like all over the place. So like I don't think that
Dio's
counts.
the only real male deity I connect to, but like
Male
he's
question mark. So
that he's gender fluid.
yeah, I feel like gender fluid is like really a good
That's the best way to put it.
but exactly that. And that's where, our religion does play a part in our daily life if we're circling back to that, you
Mm-hmm.
know. I do have to go. Speaking of daily life, I
Yeah,
need to
you
go get
need
food.
to.
I need to go
Yes,
food shopping.
you need to food shop.
Um, I have to say this. B can attest to it. I am really not feeling great today. And I even told her at the beginning of the stream, I was like, you might have to carry us today. Like, I don't know.
She was
Clearly,
literally sitting there like, I feel
I know, like, I
awful.
don't want to do
And
this.
I was like, we don't have to stream today if you're feeling that bad.
And I said no.
She said no.
Because being religious, it's obvious, it recharges me. It really does. As much work as it is, and it is kind of exhausting sometimes because like we have a lot that was going on this week because like yay, lesser mysteries.
Yeah.
and we still have a lot more. I have to plan a ritual for tomorrow, which I have not done yet. And it might just be me because I know someone else was gonna volunteer, but I feel it unfair to just be like, I'm here.
I was gonna
But
help with that.
oh, you're welcome to.
Yeah, I know I said that I would help, but
You're 3 hours ahead, so you'll definitely be awake. Okay, well, I'll message you.
yeah.
But being that I guess part of the fact that me saying I'm religious is the fact that my religion is a solace. It is a recharge. I'm passionate about it. It makes me excited to talk about, and I'm, um, all that stuff. Yeah,
Aw,
thanks.
I'm glad too. I will admit, I had a really shitty day yesterday. Like, I blew up at my best friend because I was just so frustrated at him for like one of the first times in like our 2-year friendship. Because I was just like frustrated with him, you know? And actually getting on, I calmed down a bit. I had food because food always helps. And then I got on Jackpot yesterday with everyone, and we weren't even talking Hellenism. We were just like laughing and having a good time.
Yeah.
That recharged me. And like, I am a 100% introvert. Like, my class was canceled on Monday, so I did not leave the house from when I got home Friday until today, except to take my dog out. I am a huge introvert, but connecting with the community and people that I know will support me, like, they don't even know they're supporting me. They just are by being around and like joking. That is a huge comfort.
That's also something. Just because it's the Discord, it's a Hellenic, pagan, polytheist Discord, doesn't mean that everything that we do. Although, to be fair, we are talking about how it bleeds into the rest of our lives, but does not mean that everything that we do or that we do together has to be Hellenic or pagan or polytheist or religious. It's the community that recharges us. I mean, yes, also the gods, but like that.
There's so much to life. There's so many aspects of life.
We're not just Hellenic polytheists or whatever, it's not, and we're not at the same way that we're not just, a student or a business owner. Not doing so good at that part of my life lately. Little flick in the head from Hermes being like, go do your fucking work. But it's not all of who we are, but the community that it creates, and having the people that we know that we can relate to, who understand these similar stories, these similar experiences, the stress of feeling like you want to be yourself, but you don't, but you're scared about the backlash from your family, your friends, or whatever, who understand those struggles the same way, regardless of any part of whether you're on the left or the right, or whether you're Christian or Catholic. Having that community is what recharges us. So, and there's my TED Talk. I agree.
I also agree.
I love the excitement, and I love how excited people get to talk about their stuff. For example, I bailed on book club last week because I don't remember why I didn't go. I think I just wasn't feeling good. And I legit messaged B and I was like, "Hey, I remember you said you were very excited to talk about Mycenaean."
Yeah, Minoan.
I'm sorry, Minoan.
Yeah.
About the Minoan part of that, and I was like, "Hey, you're excited? Do you want to lead it?" And you're like, "Yeah, sure." I have no idea what happened.
I basically did a brief overview of why is almost everything in this wrong now.
I mean, but you were excited to do it. I remember talking to you before the previous book club that you were like, "I'm so excited."
There was also something in the book that I was like, I've never heard of this. So I went to the Modern Minoan Paganism Discord with people who are scholars in the Minoan field and was like, hey, can you explain this?
Dope.
And they were like, we got you. This is exactly the fresco that he's referencing, and this is more of what it is. And I'm like, that's so helpful. I can talk about that next week. Because I went a little farther than I probably should have last week. I also got on very many tangents of like, here, I'm going to show my screen and show you guys like some frescoes from Knossos, because why not?
But that's so cool though, because otherwise we wouldn't have known that. And like worshiping. So I'm really exhausted and overwhelmed this week, just in general. Not with, I mean, there's so many things to be exhausted and overwhelmed about in the past 3 years, but, and I love, so I love worshiping sometimes because I like to dress up. And look, I've got gowns I just can't wear anywhere else, and I'm this close to wearing a gown to the fucking supermarket. Okay. So worshiping for me in that sense is when I'm showing up to worship, I like to show up to worship. Am I going to be doing that? Do I already have the outfit planned for the Aphrodite ritual? Yes, I do. Am I going to wear it? No. It is too fucking cold in California. But it is the highlight, and I'm still looking forward to it. Am I still making cupcakes? Yes. But and that's where, worshiping, I agree with you. It very much is a highlight. I like pouring out a cup of tea for the gods in the morning. I feel connected to them, and they're, regardless of whether you're just talking or meditating or doing a ritual or something. If it brings, or fuck, if you're riding a bicycle, whatever, if it brings you joy, if it makes you feel better, if it makes it feel more you, so long as you're not hurting anybody, like actively, like stab, like or emotionally stab, or whatever. Do your practice is yours, your relationship with the gods is yours, and I don't think it's fair for anyone of the same religion or of other religions to tell us that it's not okay, because why? Like, whatever, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Like, whatevs.
Yeah.
Tarot, so fun. I literally just got a new tarot deck for my bestie. Like, there was a package on my desk today, and I was like, "The fuck is this?" And it was a supernatural deck. I posted it in the Discord, so like everyone go look at it. Okay, I love you guys. I gotta go.
Yeah. Go grocery shop.
Bye. We'll see you next week. Come on the Discord for more fun things, and I will message you
do so.
about tomorrow.
Do so.
Please and thank you. Bye.